Alright, today we're going to look at multiplying matrices. This can be a pretty tricky concept, so we're going to start with just the different shapes of the matrices that can be multiplied together. And we've got some examples here of some matrices. And what we want to look at is, if I do A times B, then I take a matrix that has the dimensions of a 4 by 3 and the matrix that have the dimensions of a 3 by 2, and I ask to multiply them together. And in order to multiply matrices together, these inside numbers have to match. So the question is, can we multiply A and B? And the answer in this case is yes. And then the really cool thing about multiplying matrices is you should know what you have when you get done by looking at these outside numbers. So if we multiply A and B, what are the dimensions of the new matrix? And the dimensions are 4 by 2. How cool is that? So let's look over here at this next set of matrices. We've got a 3 by 4 for matrix A, and for matrix B we've got a 3 by 2. And again, in order to multiply the matrices, these inner numbers have to be the same. So we will look at these guys. Is it possible to multiply A and B? And the answer in this case is no, we cannot. Alright, here's the pattern for multiplying matrices. It's a little bit unique. You cannot just multiply the numbers straight through. But what we're doing is we're going to multiply from left to right on matrix A with up to down on matrix B. And if you'll notice over here, I'm going to do A times E. Here's A. Here's E. And then plus B times G. Here's B. And here's G. And notice that when we do this, I'm looking at the first row, and I'm looking at the first column. And so when I put them together, I'm in the first row, first column. And so that's your pattern. The other thing that you can look at, which is interesting, is if you'll notice matrix A has A, B, C, and D. So here's A, B, C, and D. Notice that when you multiply in that first column, you're going to have an A, a B, a C, and a D. And notice that we're taking those first columns, E and G. Well, everything in that very first column is E, and everything in the back half of that first column is G. So those are the patterns that you can look at. And I always, when I multiply matrices, I just say to myself, okay, I'm in the first row, first column. First row, first column. And so let's see how this would look real quick in a real simple problem. If I have 2, 1, 3, negative 1 times negative 1, 2, 4, and 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with this first row, first column. And when I do my math, first row, first column. So 2 times negative 1 plus 3 times 4. That's the first row, first column. And now I can do first row, second column. And so when I do first row, second column, that's going to put me in the first row, second column. And I want to have 2 times 2 plus 3 times 3. Now I'm going to move to the second row, first column. So I'm going to go to the second row, first column. And that will be 1 times -1 plus -1 times 4. And then second column, second row. So in the second column, second row, I'm going to have 1 times 2 and -1 times 3. Now all we need to do is just clean up our math in this on the equal side here. So I'm going to have -2 plus 12. I'm going to have -1 minus 4. I'm going to have 4 plus 9 and 2 minus 3, which is going to be 10, -5, 13, and -1. And that's all there is to it. Okay, so what we're going to do is now we're going to multiply these matrices given an expression. So there's 3 matrices to choose from, A, B, and C. And what they want us to do is to multiply A with B plus C. And think about this just like you would think about your normal math. We have to do this part first because it's inside the parentheses. So when we do that, we're looking at -3, 0, 1, -2. And then we're going to add it to C. And so don't forget what you've learned about adding matrices. You just add together the things in the corresponding parts. And so the inside of our matrix becomes -2, -2, 4, and -3. Alright. And then once we've got this part down, now we can do the multiplication. And we take this first guy. Order is important when multiplying a matrix. Times this guy. And multiply by row and column. So when we do this, we're going to have first row, first column, 4 times -2 plus 3 times -2. First row, second column is going to be 4 times 4 plus 3 times -3. Second row, first column, -1 times -2 plus -2 times -2. Second row, second column, -1 times 4 plus -2 times -3. And then finally, third row, first column. 2 times -2 plus 0 times -2 And third row, second column is going to be 2 times 4. And plus negative 3 times 0. And now just clean all this up and you're going to be good to go. So I've got negative 8 minus 6, 16 minus 9, 2 plus 4, negative 4, minus 6, 4 plus 0, and 8 plus 0. And when you combine all those guys together, you end up with your final matrix, which is going to be negative 8 minus 6, negative 14, 16 minus 9, 7, 2 plus 4, 6, negative 4 minus 6, negative 10, 4 plus 0, 4, and 8 plus 0, 8. And this should be plus 6 here, which is going to give us a 2. And this should be negative 4 here, which gives us a negative 4. So keep up with those minus symbols or they'll throw you all off.